Hey guys, it's Reefr isn't real, back with another trip report, 2 in 1 day. Today we're doing quite interesting trip report where this guy ingested 888 milligrams of DXM polyestrix mixed with 1200 milligrams of DPH, which is a pretty substantial dose for both of those substances, so this should make for quite the interesting trip report. This report was reported by Money at 6909, so let's just get into the report. I've done many psychedelics. The only ones I have left on my list is mescaline and salvia. I've done ketamine, acid, shrooms, molly, nitrous, nutmeg. I've never touched any hard drugs like opioids, stimulants, except molly, I guess. But I've got a few mind-blowing true stories and I'll post them if you guys are interested. But my stories may sound fake for how I remember them so well. Well, that's because of my ADHD. Makes my memory better with physical or visual experiences. So basically, if you told me to grab 10 certain items from the store, I'd probably forget, but if you wrote it and I read it in the order in which I like, then I'll be more successful in remembering what I need to get. But the only problem is that my memory switches what happened first, so my story might be a little confusing from the time of the chemical intake to peak and come down, but I'll do my best to put the whole story in line with as much detail and not make it a book and make it not confusing. But here's the story. My dad died on the 16th of April 2019, 4 days before my 16th birthday, and I finally started to learn about psychedelics and how much they can be used as tools. So I researched about different psychedelics and what one does differently from each other. But before I found Psych Substance, the one and only, he taught me to be responsible and avoid major damage. I only had knowledge on DXM and how it was similar. That the only thing that was similar to a psychedelic was the DXM and DPH. I'm gonna pause the trip report right here and say that is completely false information. DXM and DPH are nothing like psychedelics, but back to the report. So I bought a 5 fluid ounce bottle of Delirium, and if you're gonna do something stupid, at least do it smart and correctly. So I extracted the DXM from the syrup because I can't even look at grape and orange flavored things anymore. But I had my powdered DXM drying, and I grabbed a whole box of benadryl, and I somehow ate all 25 pink pills without throwing up. And I've always had an iron gut. I've eaten a whole Oz of powderized golden teachers and didn't even have stomach issues. I've taken 40 hits of acid and still didn't have stomach issues. I'll post a story on that later, but I never did throw up, which I wish I could have the chance because I can't make myself. Time 0.0. Nothing yet but anxiety. I'm just sitting there alone in my room. I have no expectations or experiences with drug-induced hallucinations. I have had hallucinations And it was because at my old house we had an evil entity in my room's closet, and it would literally make me have nightmares every night, and I would hallucinate my second grade teacher's decapitated head on a pike. I'd also wake up and feel stuff crawling on me. And when I'd lift the blankets up, I'd see thousands of worms, cockroaches, and centipedes scurry under my pillow and disappear. And I know they were hallucinations because I literally have a light on in my room and could clearly watch the insects slowly fade away. And the sound of them moving does too, and the day we moved, I will never have a nightmare nor a nightmare. But we'll give you tip to try pinpoint the real and fake, because DXM and DPH won't give you patterns and shapes and make you feel good. It makes you feel dark, scary, and hellish with the hallucinations, and I'm glad I knew what was real and what wasn't, even though I was still majorly high. But back to the story. Damn it. So time 30 minutes. The come up is so fucking disgusting. I know this is too much information, but when you take DPH to get high, your manly man hog becomes a hot dog you left in the microwave for 15 minutes. So that was hurting the whole trip. My mouth was so dry, I thought it was bleeding and crackling, and no matter how much water you drink, it doesn't help. Because as soon as you swallow, your mouth is back to this hard. Also, your arms and legs become tingly and hurt, like when you wake up, your arms and legs, it hurts while the blood rushes back to them. Time 1 hour. My body stopped hurting and I'm fully peaked, and I was beyond robo walking. I was walking like somebody embalming. They just can only use their legs and everything else is just a limb. Oh yeah, I also probably should have said that I took this in our shop/garage. Time 1.5 hours. The visuals have hit because you mainly get the out of this world hallucinations from DPH, but if you mix them, you get even more weirder hallucinations. But at this point, I reached my max and I was so gone that I was just sitting in a swivel chair doing circles, talking to hundreds of voices and people calling my name. Felt like I smoked meth or PCP or something. I would just without thought just snap around in the chair and yell, "Yeah." What? Yeah. That sounds stupid, and I felt like I was going insane. And from this point on, I don't know. I don't know if what I did was what I actually did, or if I was just sitting in the chair drilling and slowly dying. But I see my cousin's $300+ stacks bong sitting on the office desk, and I grabbed it and took a rip off it and then blew a cloud out. I don't know if I actually smoked weed, because after the cloud disappeared, my cousin, who lives 15 minutes away, is now sitting in front of me asking me for his bong to take a hit, and we started talking, and he was completely normal except for one thing, and here's at least how I can tell between real and fake. The more I looked at him, the more he didn't look like my cousin, and it got to the point that we were just sitting there staring at each other for who knows how long. And the difference for me between real and fake is that my hallucinations cycle the animation like an old 3D game on how the characters talk, but they don't seem human. But before I could say anything, he handed me the bong and told me to hit it. while he goes and takes a piss, and I watched him get up and walk out the shop. I started to look back at my hands and the bong is gone. I start questioning whether that was him or not, and I was too high to already know he doesn't live with me. But I still sat there and waited. I sat for a bit, 2 hours in. At this point, I might have smoked actual weed because I did have my dab pen in my pocket, but hitting it was a mistake. I'm still in the shop at this point, and now the walls are wobbling and bending and cutting in and out of a static-like screen. All noise has been cut out besides my brain playing creepy fucking music, and then there's like half-feet tall Call of Duty characters running across the concrete floor and hiding behind tables and shit. I was glued to the office chair at this point, and I started getting super stressed that at any moment I might not be able to control what I do. Then I turn around where my cousin was sitting at the shop in our sesh spot. So he always had his chair, I always had mine, but I turned around and he's just sitting there holding the bong. And then he was asking me questions I can't remember. What exactly he said, I said, I don't remember. What's told to me is as well as if I seen it, but I don't remember him asking if I was okay, and that I'm gonna be fine in the morning. And at one point he said I must go, and then his whole body wobbled and statically evaporated 1 foot from my face. At this point it felt normal, but I couldn't understand why I was still getting more and more intense hallucinations, and that's why I also think that I was smoking weed. It just wasn't out of his bong. But 15 minutes after he left, he came back, said some stuff, and turned around and walked through the wall. And after that, I started seeing shadow figures walking and talking, and it didn't scare me, but I was very intimidated, so I stumbled my way up to my room, and all the hallucinations besides the shadow people and Call of Duty men would cycle. Animations. And this one caught me off guard. But I'm glad that I'm used to seeing fake scary shit because we have a sliding glass door, and I closed it and put my shoes on, and I looked out the glass door window, and the closest thing I can describe what I was a silverback, muscle-sized wolf scratching and growling at me. But it would, like I said, cycle its animations, and each of those animations would have like a 3 to 5 second animation, and the wolf wasn't even making noises though. It was barking and scraping the ever-living shit out of my door, and I sat there, and once I realized it wasn't real, I slowly again faded into nothing. And that's what is to me scary, is seeing something that looks real and would talk and have full conversations for you to realize something with them ain't right, and then they just slowly go transparent and disappear in front of you. And for me, it doesn't need to be a person, it could be an object, and it still creeps me out. The only reason is because after you experience seeing an object and living things just stay in place, but still doing their running and wiggling animation, and you probably find out your brain made it up. And I know probably sounding obscene sensing over some dumb shit, but I also don't know anybody that has done real non-drug induced hallucinations every night for years, because it would happen almost every night, but it would be different things, from the things in closet marioneting me in my dreams because I've woken up doing what I was doing in my nightmare, for example. being pulled into a hole only to wake up dragged under my bed using the same hand in my dream to hold on to my bed leg. I've also woken up mid-jump in my dream, only to wake up in the air and collapse on the floor. I've also watched myself sleep from what I can only think was the time in my closet POV. But I better wrap the story up because this is when I start to not remember things. Time, 3 hours. I'm gonna try my best to explain this. So this see-through orb, like those ones on paranormal photos and videos, was slowly climbing up my wall, but it kept snapping back a little bit every couple inches. After that I blacked out. I woke up 20 hours later, with my mouth still dry and the worst headache and hangover ever. Thank you for reading my messy off-topic report. If you want other ones, I'll write them out on paper first and then type it, so they'll at least be more on topic. Be safe, be smart, and take anything that will have to talk for hours to people who aren't there. Keep on tripping on.